Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out. This is episode 244. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all doing well today. If you feel like it, drop by on social media to say hi. Let me know what you're up to, if you have any tech questions, whatever. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's Mark Saltzman, Mark with a C, and Saltzman with a Z. We have a great show planned for you today. We're going to start off talking about this whole right to repair debate and what it all means for you, and how companies like uBreakiFix by Asurion fits into this equation as well. After that, the Prodigy Math educational game has been a huge success over the past couple of years. So we're going to learn what's brand new from them, Prodigy English. Also on Tech It Out today, what edge computing is all about and why it's becoming increasingly popular. We'll catch up with Lumen Technologies to hear about that, to be followed by some recommended gear and software for National Small Business Week. I'll chat with you about that without a guest. I was on a handful of TV stations last Wednesday, sharing some suggestions for small and medium-sized businesses to remain competitive and profitable without breaking the bank. I'll cover the latest in all-in-one printers, as well as security systems from a brand that you know and love, and also some great software as well. All of this and more on an all-new Tech It Out, powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. I'll tell you more about ASUS shortly, but let's get to our first interview. You've probably heard of the right to repair debate between consumers and usually mobile phone manufacturers to provide practical means for owners of electronics to repair their own devices. But, it's not black and white, and most people are not technically capable of doing this, even though they want the right to do it. But wherever this all nets out, know that there are professionals that can affordably fix your tech for you, including the company my next guest is with. We're joined by Dave Barbuto, who last June became CEO of the uBreakiFix chain of more than 700 stores across the US and Canada, owned by Asurion. Welcome, Dave. Good to chat with you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Before we talk about this, right to repair campaign, often tied to smartphones, tell us a bit about uBreakiFix by Asurion.
Sure. Yeah, as you know, Mark, better than anyone, the world runs on tech these days now more than ever. You think about the smartphone that's in your pocket. It holds your contacts, your calendars, your photos, work documents, banking, everything you do. If that device breaks, it's a panic moment for you. And for uBreakiFix by Asurion, we're here in that panic moment. So we provide fast tech fixes, not just smartphones, but also tablets, computers, gaming consoles. We say we fix anything with a power button, and we do that at over 700 stores across the United States.
Yeah, that's awesome. And in Canada too, right?
Correct. Yeah.
It's funny. I call smartphones like a digital Swiss Army knife. As you touched upon, it does everything. And as a result, if something happens to it, you have a broken screen or it won't turn on or whatever else can happen. Yeah, that is a panicked moment, no doubt. But as you said, you fix other gear as well, iPads. Did you say laptops as well?
Yeah. We fix smartphones, of course, but we also fix tablets, computers, game consoles. We've even fixed things like light up Christmas sweaters. We've had elliptical machines rolled in the front lobby, and our technicians have fixed those. And it's not just the physical damage. Sometimes customers just need help with their technology. It may be running slow, performance is lagging. We can help you with those things as well.
All right. So with that in mind, walk us through the process. So I know that there's first free diagnostics, and then tell us about your low price guarantee.
For sure. Yeah, that's right. We always start with a free diagnostic. A lot of times customers don't know what's going on with their tech. So we want to get our hands on it and make sure we can give them good advice. Sometimes the advice is fix it. Sometimes the advice is replace it. Sometimes the advice is, just to upgrade. But we want to get our hands on it. So at first we do a diagnostic. After that's done, we let the customer know the price before they commit to anything. And if it's not a cost-effective fix, we're transparent about that.
Yeah.
Vast majority of the time, repair is more cost-effective than replacing the device. And then we'll match any local competitor's regularly published price for that same repair. So if there's a local competitor that is advertising repair price for that exact same repair, we will match it.
I'm assuming that you do need to see it, as you touched on. You can't get a remote quote over over the internet by typing in, okay, I've got an iPhone 13 with a cracked screen, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there are ways to get some triage done online, and we have the ability for a customer to call into our call center and get that sort of triage. The hard part is the customer's description of the device and the issue. It's just, there's a long list of things that could be wrong with there. So getting our hands on it is the most definitive way. And we want to make sure the customer gets the right outcome. Setting expectations is super important to us, and then exceeding them every time.
Okay, got it. And before we talk about the Right to Repair campaign, how long approximately does it take to fix, say, just a typical smartphone?
Yeah, most of the time, a screen repair can be done in about 30 minutes or less. If the store has a lot of repairs in queue, it can be a little bit longer, but we pride ourselves in really solving that fast. We know how important customers' devices are to them. We know they don't want to wait a long time. So we focus on a fair price and very convenient and speedy repair.
And no need to book an appointment? Just walk in?
Nope, you can walk right in. Yeah, you can go on to any of our web pages to find out a store near you and make sure you know what their hours of operations that they're open are, and then come on in. We're excited about having more customers come in and experience the service.
Our guest is Dave Barbuto, Chief Executive Officer of the uBreakiFix chain of more than 700 locations. The parent company is Asurion, who no doubt you've heard of. And we are now going to chat about this Right to Repair campaign that's bubbling up again in the news. Talk to us about the repair kits and this sort of fight going on over the past couple of years. What are we talking about here exactly?
You know, uBreakiFix by Asurion and Asurion, we haven't taken a formal stance on Right to Repair as a company, but we do believe repair is a favorable option for both people and the planet. So we're excited about that. To echo Apple's sentiment in its self-service repair announcement, most often do-it-yourself repair is best suited for the types of people that have knowledge and experience working with electronic devices. It's not a practical solution for more general users. It's exciting, though, for people to have more choice. We always support that and think it's great. Ultimately, we've successfully partnered with several tech manufacturers to create repair solutions for customers. We're an authorized service repair provider for both Samsung and Google phones, and we're part of Apple's independent repair provider network. So we support customers choosing whatever repair option that makes the most sense for them, and we'll continue to create valuable repair solutions for those that need it.
Okay. And uBreakiFix says that it's bracing for an influx of what you call DIYs gone wrong, or quote unquote bag phones that are starting to arrive in stores. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, some of your listeners probably remember the bag phone reference from the old days when phones actually came in a bag. So we've affectionately called the do-it-yourself repair gone wrong a bag phone. Customers walk into our stores, they have various components in a plastic bag, and they kind of look at us with those eyes and say, can you help me? So they usually just need a little bit of help getting it over the finish line. We're happy to help with those jobs. And if there's an influx of those, we're going to be ready and waiting to make sure that customers have a great outcome on the back end of that.
So they bring in like a screen, for example, in like a Ziploc, and they say, like, yeah, I'm trying to put this on my, my Samsung Galaxy or whatever, my Google Pixel.
Yeah, the screws that go into cell phones are extraordinarily small. My eyes aren't good enough to see them without glasses, but you find that these bags are really important when it comes to keeping all those parts in one place. So, yeah, we do see that from time to time.
All right. So even though the company hasn't formally taken a stance one way or the other, this right to repair fight is basically that the big companies like Apple and Samsung previously did not want their customers to try to replace or fix their devices. They wanted you to probably, in most cases, upgrade, because it serves their MO. But there's been this huge sort of consumer push saying, no, we want the right to repair our own devices, and not just smartphones, I should say. There are obviously third-party solutions like uBreakiFix, but that's really what we're talking about here. And it's just only over the last couple of months, I'd say, or 6 months, that we've seen sort of the big guys, if you will, sort of lean towards, caving and allowing people to have the right to repair.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and anytime a customer chooses repair over replacement, we see that as a win. And, we anticipate this generating more folks being able to repair, and we think that's a great thing.
Okay, great. So, as we wrap up, what's the message that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, if you're ready to tackle your own repair, we support you. We're here to help, whether you walk in with a bag phone, like we said, or if you come with a device and just want help, we're here for that. Tech devices are a big investment. We want to help people repair them successfully so they don't have to replace them. Replacing a device is a lot of work. And, sometimes that can be, a lot of headaches for an individual with all the content you have to transfer and things you want to make sure happen. So we love the repair option for customers, and we want to we want to make that as available as possible.
All right. And then the best website, is it tied to Asurion or is it simply uBreakiFix.com?
Yeah, we're actually in the middle of a branding change. So we are rebranding all of our uBreakiFix stores across the United States to Asurion Tech Repair and Solutions. So right now, while we're in the middle of this, you can visit uBreakiFix.com or AsurionTechRepair.com.
All right, Dave Barbuto, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. And congrats, by the way, for becoming CEO of the company last year. It's very exciting. All the best. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, I don't know if you're listening to Tech It Out on a regular radio station, of which Tech It Out airs on over 100 across the country every weekend, or you're tuning in podcast form. Either way, thrilled to have you. And I wanted to remind you that if you missed last week's episode, it is available on demand as a podcast. We learned about this very powerful and portable generator that does not rely on gas, so you can use it inside a home or a summer home. Instead, it's got a huge battery like an electric vehicle. It's from Anchor, so we learned all about that last week. We also chatted with Visa about online shopping safety tips. How do you keep your card and your data safe in today's day and age? And we also learned about the very first NFL licensed virtual reality video game simulation coming this fall. So look for Tech It Out, hosted by yours truly, Mark Saltzman. And that was episode 243. It was April 29th. All right. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to learn all about Prodigy English, the follow-up to the massively successful Prodigy Math game for kids. It's an educational game, and we've got so much more coming this hour. So stick with us. We'll be right back with more Tech It Out.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. This show is powered by ASUS for those in search of incredible. ASUS creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, and that includes its line of award-winning laptops and desktops, accessories like monitors and keyboards, mice, and more, mobile tech, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and so on. So for those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. In fact, I'm recording this radio show and podcast on a ZenBook Flip S laptop as we speak. So super versatile and powerful gear. All right. Speaking of laptops, let's continue on with the show to learn about a new educational video game from a big name. After successfully launching Prodigy Math a couple of years back, which helps teach and sharpen essential math skills for kids in grades 1 through 8, Prodigy has just launched Prodigy English. And we've got an exclusive look at the gamified educational platform with the co-CEO of Prodigy Education, Alex Peters. Good to chat with you, Alex. Thanks for your time.
Great to be here, Mark. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. And congrats on the launch of Prodigy English. Before we talk about this new offering, which is not replacing Prodigy Math, talk to us about the company, Prodigy Education.
Absolutely. So Prodigy's been around for about 11 years and is a leader in game-based learning for grades 1 through 8. At Prodigy, we use our motivation-first philosophy, where game-based learning is used to maximize student motivation and then in turn help them develop a love of learning that will last an entire lifetime. So the way that works is we focus really hard on making sure that students are really engaged and excited about the learning process through our game-based learning approach. Then once students are on the game, we make sure that content is at the right level through our adaptive algorithm. That in turn helps build their confidence, because when students are working on content that's appropriate for them, then they have the ability to succeed. And then one of the most important things is building that math confidence, building that English confidence, because that's what encourages kids to come back. That's what encourages that grit. And ultimately, what establishes that love of learning.
Mm-hmm. We've heard about this gamification approach for a long time, but not everybody gets it right. So you're right, it has to be fun enough for the kids to play, but also educational enough and motivational enough for them to keep going. It's a tricky thing, but you seem to nail that with Prodigy Math. Is that why you think it's so popular, that secret sauce?
Absolutely. So gamification is really effective. We actually take that one step further through game-based learning. So gamification is really focused on kind of providing progress and feedback to students, usually in a simpler form. With game-based learning, we're building these immersive worlds where students can learn alongside their classmates, and everything that they do matters to the overall game. So in Prodigy Math, their wizard levels up. When it comes to Prodigy English, they can tangibly build this village that eventually other students are going to be able to come and visit. They can go on daily quests. They're just, everything's so much more meaningful. And at the end of the day, what that allows us to do is create a game that students want to come back to tomorrow, next week, next month, and next year. And learning is such a cumulative process that solving that initial, that short, medium, and long-term engagement is one of, if not the most critical step in making sure that students are actually learning.
With that in mind, talk to us about Prodigy English and what you learned from your math-based game and have applied now to another subject altogether.
Absolutely. So one of the main things that we learned is one of the most important steps is to make a game that's actually fun. So Prodigy English draws inspiration from popular titles like an Animal Crossing, a Harvest Moon, that are more of a like cozy games where students can kind of sit down and build this village of their own. And so the way it works is they drop in, village is pretty empty, it's a little bit decrepit, and it's on them to go clean it up and then use the resources that they gather to build picnic tables, to build swing sets, whatever kind of their heart desires. They learn all these new recipes over time, and each of those actions requires English content. So one of the main things that we learned with the math game is that we need to build this game, but then we need to keep it flexible enough so that the education content can adapt to what that child needs at any given time. So we've taken that learning and applied it to English. And then the other main thing that we've taken is that everything that a child learns also needs to go back to their parent and teachers, because learning is a group effort. And so we report everything back in real time so that as that student's learning, their teacher's more informed, their lessons can be crisper, their parents know what to congratulate on them because they just learned it. And so that kind of general framework of keeping parents and teachers was also a strong input into the design of Prodigy English.
And Prodigy English is for the same grades, 1 through 8, as Prodigy Math?
With Prodigy English, we've launched with grades 1 through 5 to be able to get this into our students and families' hands faster. But the team is working hard on expanding it up to grade 8 over the next year.
All right, great. And what platforms do you play Prodigy English on?
You can play Prodigy English on basically any internet-connected device, whether that's your phone, tablet, computer. If you have access to a modern browser like Chrome or Safari, you should have access to Prodigy.
So it's browser-based?
It's both browser-based, but you can also install our app on both the Google Play Store or the App Store.
All right, cool. We'll continue chatting with Alex Peters from Prodigy Education in a moment when we learn more about Prodigy English. You're getting a sneak peek into this brand new game, the follow-up to Prodigy Math. We'll learn more about what it looks like, what the gameplay is like, a little bit more detail on that, the kinds of things that it reinforces for kids, why parents and teachers like it, and a lot more. You are listening to Tech It Out on the Radio America Network. I'm your host, Mark Saltzman. Hope you're enjoying the program so far. If you have any tech questions for me or you want to see some of these products that we've been chatting about visually, you can hit me up on social media. Again, it's Mark Saltzman, Mark with a C, SALTZMAN. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Just search me up, say hi, let me know what you're up to and how I can help you out. All right, we're going to continue chatting about Prodigy English when we return, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out, everyone. We are chatting with Alex Peters, co-CEO of Prodigy Education. They're the folks behind the super successful Prodigy Math platform, and now Prodigy English has just launched a game-based learning approach to helping students with now English instead of math. Because it's radio, Alex, can you walk us through like what it looks like? I think you sort of painted this scenario kind of like a life simulation, those kinds of fun and relaxing games that you've touched on, and then how the English lesson is weaved in. Is there a way you can, sort of illustrate that for us verbally?
Of course. So the way that Prodigy English works is, again, every student gets their very own village. And then whenever they want to do something, they need resources.
Like, let's say fishing.
Correct. So fishing is actually a feature that's going to be coming to the product in the not too distant future.
Oh, cool. I was just thinking Animal Crossing, because that's one of the things you can do in Animal Crossing.
So our side note, our lead developer has wanted to build a fishing game for the 10 years that he's been at the company. So he's finally on the path. As of right now, let's say a student wants to build a picnic table.
Sure.
To just kind of have a meeting area for them and their friends. If they need to build a picnic table, they need wood. So to get that wood, they can cut down some trees, they can collect some stones, and then combine that with a recipe to build that picnic table. When they go to cut down a tree or basically take any of those major actions, they need energy. And energy can only be accumulated by answering English questions. So students can decide, I want to build up a lot of energy, and then they answer a series of English questions that adapt based on their own individual learning needs. So internally, we make sure that students are spending a certain amount of time on the English content, kind of regardless of what it is that they want to do. Mm-hmm. And then as they keep getting more and more committed to improving their overall village, the total number of English questions spikes very, very quickly.
And is this based on a particular curriculum? And would that be the same between different states and provinces in the US and Canada? How do you standardize it?
Yeah, so what we've done is we've taken the general 1 through 8 curriculum, broken it into about 500 different skills for English, and then we make sure that it matches any state-specific changes. So there's kind of a general curriculum in the US, there's a curriculum in Ontario and for each individual province, and then we have expert teachers on staff that go through and make sure that skills are being taught in the right order and in the right grades so that parents and teachers are getting the right information and students are learning the right content.
Could Prodigy English be used for ESL, for those who are learning English as a second language?
Yes, it does start at grades 1. So there's a bit of a baseline expectation of knowledge, but it absolutely can be used. The main thing I would say is it can be used by anybody. So anybody who's planning on working on their English skills, or for anybody who has kids, whether they're grandkids or your kids or your students, you can go to the website and sign up entirely for free.
Oh,
and
cool.
So, and that's one of the things that we're most proud of, is that at Prodigy, we found a business model that we consider to be the most equitable way to help students learn in a sustainable fashion. The way it works is that all of the English content in Prodigy English and all of the math content in Prodigy Math is available to all students for free, and that is indefinite. So they can go on, they can play, they can learn from any device as long as they like, and that's all free.
So how does the revenue model work then? Is it the school boards pay for this?
Nope. So all of the teacher content is also free. So teachers have access to reports. They can assign content in the game to individual students or the whole classroom. And there's also a portion of the parent app that's entirely for free as well. The only way that we make money is through a completely optional upgrade that unlocks some additional game features that don't affect the educational content or quality, as well as some additional features for parents, like some advanced reporting.
Okay, that's really cool. I know it's not just for students, but for teachers and parents, based on what I've read, and similar to Prodigy Math, if I'm not mistaken. And just before we wrap up, Prodigy English isn't just for like e-learning, like remote learning, but also could it be used in classroom as well?
So about 80% of our usage in a given week is actually in the classroom. Prodigy is used by over 250,000 teachers on a monthly basis.
Wow.
To help engage their students in the learning process. And then one of the major reasons for that is because, again, engagement is so critical to the learning journey. One thing I do want to highlight is that last year we helped over 20 million students learn entirely for free.
That's really impressive. And I should tell you anecdotally, Alex, that I gave a speech last year about technology and education and where we're going in the future and the metaverse and all that. And I asked a few teachers that I'm friendly with, what software should I for sure include? And all of them said Prodigy. Kudos. And with that in mind, where could our listeners learn more and sign up? And is there, one website you'd recommend?
Absolutely. They can just go to our main website, prodigygame.com. They can sign up for a free parent, teacher, or student account in probably 30 seconds or less and get learning.
Alex Peters, co-CEO of Prodigy Education. Congratulations on the launch of Prodigy English and on your successes with the platforms to date. So all the best. Thanks so much for carving out some time to chat with us.
Of course, Mark. Always a pleasure.
We've got a lot more Tech It Out coming up after a break in a couple of minutes from now. We're going to learn about edge computing. What is that all about? What is the buzz about all this? Because I keep seeing this online. We're going to chat with Lumen Technologies about that. And then as promised, the last segment today is where I share some of the highlights from a TV interview I did on Wednesday tied to Small Business Week, National Small Business Week, which took place last week. some tech tools to help small and medium-sized businesses out. I know a lot of our listeners run or work for a small business, so I'll share some great gear like wireless printers, affordable security solutions, as well as recommended software like NetSuite and HelloSign and more. So that's coming up. But I wanted to also recognize and thank Western Digital, the company that creates those awesome external hard drives and solid state drives and memory cards and USB thumb drives and all that. They are a valued partner on this weekly Tech It Out program, and I use their products religiously to back up my important information before it's too late. Just to err on the side of caution, you never know what can happen to your computer and other devices where all of your important information, including irreplaceable photos and videos, can be gone in a flash. So I love not just leveraging the cloud online storage where your files are stored off-site, but having something local that can store a lot of files and you don't have to pay a monthly subscription for. So check out WD and SanDisk, two of the brands that are part of the Western Digital family, at westerndigital.com. And there's always sales on their hardware, so be sure to check them out. Earlier in the show, I mentioned I'm on social media. If you wanted to say hi, ask tech questions, or hear any of these interviews all over again in podcast form, I do link to them all. But I also write a tech tip of the day, something very easy that helps you get more out of your tech in plain English, like how to turn your phone into a flatbed scanner if you ever need to digitize information while on the go. Tips like not putting your real address in your GPS in your vehicle to take you home, because if your car is stolen, now the bad guys know where you live as well. Little tips like that to help you save time, money, or aggravation. So that's called the Tech Tip of the Day, or TTOTD, that I write on social media. So I'll spell my name again in a moment, but if you want to hit me up on social media and follow me, that would be awesome. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. It's Mark Saltzman. Mark with a C, SALTZMAN. All right, when we return on Tech It Out, as promised, we're going to learn all about edge computing with a company called Lumen Technologies. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Check it out. Hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Thank you for geeking out with me this hour. If you're not in the IT space, you likely haven't heard of edge computing, but we're going to learn what it is right now and what it means for you. And yes, even if you're into gaming, as well as other applications for businesses to have much faster computational speeds. Joining us on the line to chat is Dave Cooper, Senior Vice President of Edge Computing at Lumen Technologies. Hi, Dave. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Sure. Now, before we talk about edge computing, please tell us a bit about Lumen.
Sure. Yeah, Lumen is a publicly held technology company and has a long history in telecommunications, cloud, and security. And we operate some of the largest networks in the world, supporting all sizes of enterprises and consumers. And you may be familiar with many of the companies that have come together to become Lumen, and they include CenturyLink and Level 3, Savvis, Quest, and countless others.
All right. And I wanted to chat with you about your work in gaming. We'll get to that in a moment because that's obviously a very popular topic among many of my listeners. But let's first explain, please, in plain English, if possible, what edge computing is all about.
Absolutely. So edge computing is about delivering the power of compute and data closer to where digital interactions occur. And your audience may ask, what's a digital interaction? And they include everything from how you interact with your favorite game, how robotics are controlled to build your new car, and how contactless retail store experiences are facilitated. And compute power has been that key enabler of innovation, especially over the last couple of decades with the public cloud. And edge computing is bringing that power even closer to people and devices.
So we've heard a lot about cloud computing over the past, say, decade, where the data is held, or sometimes the processing power is all handled off-site. So does that imply that edge computing brings it closer to or at the premises of business now?
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. So public cloud has come about and largely centralized, and created these massive economies of scale and allowed compute to be aggregated located in places where it's generally lower cost to operate, you know, in the middle of the country in various parts of the U.S. And edge computing is essentially supplementing, I would say, the public cloud by building data centers that are closer into the various cities across the U.S. So not just in the major cities like Chicago or San Francisco or New York City or what have you, but even deeper into tier 2 and what would be considered tier 3 cities, smaller cities that are closer to those people and devices that are actually using that compute power, exactly as you referred to earlier, to improve gaming experiences to those end users.
Okay, got it. So let's chat about gaming then as one of the applications for edge computing. I would assume that those kinds of fast speeds or near zero latency, if you will, is super important for gamers.
Yes, and you know, I think you know, talking about all of the gaming and the evolution of games, whether they're, you know, cloud-based games or console-based games, ping times or the latency really impacts that gamer experience, that player experience, and that's actually fueled a lot of the move out towards the edge, and that's been happening for many years now. But what you're seeing in recent times with gaming is this growth in the use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, all aspects that make that gaming experience unique. And that technology requires extensive amounts of compute and storage, lots of data going on between the players and the actual place where it needs to be processed. And that's helped out by moving edge computing closer to the edge, closer to those players.
Okay, very cool. We're chatting with Dave Cooper, SVP of Edge Computing at Lumen Technologies. As we wrap up, you know, a lot of our listeners are decision makers at companies, I'd say big and small. I know you focus more on enterprise grade companies, but what are some of the other applications for edge computing, and how can our listeners leverage Lumen Technologies to help their business?
So I'm hard-pressed to name an industry where edge computing is not benefiting in terms of the innovation and the ability to be able to deploy applications that dramatically improve with the performance of edge computing. We're seeing a couple of industries, you know, as examples, manufacturing being one who's using extensive amounts of technology, again, artificial intelligence, machine learning at the top of that list, using a lot of sensors deployed throughout manufacturing facilities. That's benefiting from edge computing. You also see retail, more of a consumer example of how to improve that experience to be able to improve on mitigating shoplifting, be able to provide contactless checkout experiences, a host of other different innovations. But across the enterprise and in all industries, edge computing is making a big difference, and the future is going to be great when it comes to having this capability out there for enterprises to leverage.
And where can our listeners learn more about Lumen?
Just bring up your browser and go to lumen.com/edge. We have a host of information about edge, about our offerings, and how we can help the enterprise with their journey on edge computing.
All right, awesome. So lumen.com/edge. Dave Cooper's been our guest. Thanks so much for your time, Dave. Very exciting technologies and interesting to learn about what's happening behind the scenes on these applications that we use, whether it's games or smartphone apps, tapping your credit card at retail and so on.
Thank you, Mark.
There's one thing about technology is that it never stands still. There's always something new to learn, another phrase or an acronym. This time it's edge computing. There you go. As promised, when we return, we're going to continue this thread about business tech when I chat about Small Business Week that took place last week and some affordable tools to help small business owners out. We're going to chat about a wireless all-in-one printer scanner copier with an insane amount of ink, a security solution that won't break the bank, and some productivity-related software to help give you an edge. All right, we're going to be right back with more Tech It Out. Stick with us.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
As I mentioned earlier in the show, I had a lot of fun on TV this past Wednesday talking about National Small Business Week, and I shared a few of my favorite tech tools to help out small companies. So I started off with hardware and then I pivoted to software. So I'll share this with you right now because I know a lot of our listeners either work for or own a small or medium-sized business. So feel free to jot these down, or you can always hit me up on social media if you want a list. But I started off with security. So you probably know about Ring and how it makes neighborhoods safer. And now there's Ring Alarm Pro, designed for small and medium businesses in an office, a storefront, or at home. It's a powerful yet affordable security solution that combines Ring Alarm with an Eero branded Wi-Fi 6 router to give you 24/7 professional monitoring, video recording, and 24/7 backup internet if you need it. It starts at only $20 a month per location, and you can even use the Ring app to see other compatible non-Ring cameras that you may already have as part of your security solution. And that way you can access Ring security features all in one place. And speaking of keeping costs down, we all know that printing can be a huge expense if you don't invest in the right solution. And so I showed last week the Canon Maxify GX6021. This is one of those mega tank printers, and that's the operative word, mega tank. It's ideal for small businesses and home offices looking for high volume yet low cost printing. The GX6021 prints, copies, and scans, but get this, up to 6,000 pages in black or up to 14,000 pages in color with one single set of inks. So it saves you money and time for not having to refill ink so often. You know, it always runs out at the most inopportune times, right? Anyhow, this simple to set up, compact, and wireless all-in-one can fit in any workspace. It can hold up to 350 sheets of paper with its input tray and lets you print from phones and tablets, not just laptops and desktops. And small and home businesses can also print on various media types, and it even supports multiple size options as well, including a 47-inch long sign if you need it. All right, now let's chat software. If you're just joining us now, I'm talking about National Small Business Week, which took place this past week, recommending some tech tools for small and medium-sized businesses because let's face it, they can use all the help they can get coming out of this pandemic. How do you stay nimble and lean and productive and profitable in this day and age? So we looked at Ring Alarm Pro for security, as well as the Canon Maxify GX6021 Megatank printer. Now let's talk software, because a small business does need reliable software that makes tech one less thing to worry about. And NetSuite by Oracle does just that. It includes everything from financials and inventory management to e-commerce all in one place, and provides one single view into your business with easy to read dashboards. Imagine color-coded graphs and charts. So it provides guidance on what's working and what's not, even at a glance. This software eliminates manual tasks that otherwise will cut into your performance and profitability. So that way you can make sure every dollar counts. And because it's in the cloud, NetSuite can adapt and scale as your business evolves. NetSuite.com has more. And speaking of smart software, I'll end off with HelloSign. It's a flexible, intuitive, and secure electronic signature solution, or e-signature solution, built for small businesses. Because let's face it, the traditional pen and paper signature method is not convenient, secure, or easy to manage. As a Dropbox company, HelloSign allows you to electronically request and add legally valid signatures to virtually any document, from new hire agreements to loans to non-disclosure agreements and so on, and then easily and securely store them all in Dropbox or HelloSign accounts, or any other file storage of your choosing. It really is a breeze, and it's free to get started at HelloSign.com. For more info on all of these products, the hardware and the software, and if you want to see it in action with me demonstrating it all, you can head over to killerapps.com. That's killerapps.com. Love that URL, by the way. So I mentioned earlier, you can also get this list from me if you want to hit me up on social media. So I guess it's an ideal time to remind you how to find me on social media. So this is how you spell my name. It's Mark Saltzman, MarkSaltzman. So salt like salt and pepper, the letter Z, and then man, Saltzman. And I look forward to seeing you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. I'm on quite a bit, and I link to the articles that I write and videos that I host, as well as radio and podcast interviews like you heard on the program today, and so on and so forth. So I'd love to see you on social media. And speaking of that podcast, by the way, I welcome you to click on any star reviews, like, I don't know, your favorite podcast service. If you're happy with the show, any reviews or star ratings goes a really long way. So I appreciate that in advance. All right. Before we wrap up, one last thank you to ASUS, the title sponsor on this program. We're 2 months away from our 5th anniversary as partners on Tech It Out. That's when the radio show and podcast began, and ASUS has been a rock solid partner ever since. Head over to asus.com/US/radio to check out their awesome gear like laptops and so on. Again, asus.com. All the best, everyone. Have a great week ahead, and I look forward to catching up with you next weekend for another episode of Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.